this decision because it is in the best interest of public safety.
Tonight, Hennepin County Attorney is defending her decision to not prosecute a state worker who vandalized a half a dozen Teslas. Investigators arrested him last week after he caused some $20,000 worth of damage.
But Mary Moriarty says going after the suspect for felony charges doesn't make sense for anyone. Fox 9's Mike Manzoni is live in Minneapolis tonight. Mike, the police chief and a state lawmaker are blasting that decision.
And Kelsey and Randy, he says that his investigators are frustrated. Meanwhile, a Republican state lawmaker says the Hennepin County attorney is violating her oath.
What happened to those victims of those Teslas should not have happened.
She's talking about what you see in these videos. Minneapolis police say they show state worker Dylan Adams keying multiple Teslas, causing $20,000 worth of damage. But Adams won't face criminal charges.
The felony conviction destabilizes their lives. They may lose their job, lose their housing, and it can just lead to future criminal activity.
That's why Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty will pursue a diversion program for Adams, which includes social and mental health support, and try to force him to pay back the victims. But Republican State Representative Kristen Robbins says that's not the way to do it.
She's taken an oath to uphold the Constitution and the rule of law, and I'm very concerned that repeatedly she is not taking her oath seriously.
Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara also blasted the move, saying in a statement, quote, "Our investigators are always frustrated when the cases they poured their hearts into are declined. In my experience, the victims in these cases often feel the same."
So I'm going to play the whole thing, right? I want to actually go over to the press conference to show you exactly what she said. And I'll probably play about 5 minutes of it or so, and then we'll come back here and conclude the video. But the thing that I want to say is, haven't we learned from California and their laws that people will push the law as far as it can go? And the fact that you're not holding it accountable then basically enables other people to be able to do the same thing. Why wouldn't somebody do the same thing, or why wouldn't somebody feel like they can get away with it when you could just walk up, key other people's property? When you then get those cars repaired, the value of it drops significantly because now you got to add it into the Carfax and the insurance companies. More importantly, how many cars do we know that he didn't get caught for? Those were only the ones that had Century Mode on them. And why do you feel compelled to be able to do something to somebody else's vehicle? And then why not just go ahead and let all of the criminals out and say, because they get a felony conviction or they do something that's so egregious that their transition back into society will be difficult, when in reality it should be difficult because you have to pay for the things that you do to other people. So the police officers, resources, all of these people, they do their job every single day to make sure that these people get caught. They finally catch them. And then you go on a press conference and say, well, you know what? No big deal. We're just going to give them a slap on the wrist. Hey, make them pay back the people and just go from there. Here's the actual press conference of what she had to say, and then I'm going to let you guys be the judge of it.
I have an off-topic question. A lot of people are trying to figure out why you decided not to handle the alleged Tesla.
That up. I think it's important that accurate information be out there. So we are and always have been focused on public safety. And if you look at the data on recidivism, and
her job is to uphold the law, not be judge, jury, and executioner.
Words, when people come through the system, how often do they come back? If they go through the traditional system and they have a felony conviction on their record, they are much more likely to come back and commit a new crime.
Yo, criminals, go ahead and move over to Minneapolis. And I also want to say that this guy that did it, he's a state worker. He's a state worker. He works for the state. He's getting paid with public dollars.
That is because a felony conviction destabilizes their lives. They may lose their job, lose their housing, and it can just lead to future criminal activity. What does work, and the recidivism rates are much, much lower, is diversion. And that's been proven over and over here and throughout the country. So diversion is accountability. The case was submitted to us by the police. We did not decline it. We looked at the case. What we really wanted was for the victims in that case to get restitution and for this person to be held accountable. We are accomplishing both of those by requiring him to go through a diversion program and to pay restitution to all 6 victims. What happened to those victims of those Teslas should not have happened. And just like any other property offense, which is one of the lowest level offenses that we have, we seek to hold people accountable in a way that will be consistent with public safety. And diversion is a proven way of doing that.
They have no problem using your tax dollars to get paid and allowing criminals to run free. Just looking at this woman, I can probably guarantee you that she's incredibly liberal. She probably don't like Tesla or Elon Musk either. Probably don't like Tesla or Elon Musk either, for real.
Is this depart from standard practice? Because a lot of people are charged with felonies for committing felony crimes.
That is an absolute great question. A lot of people are charged with felonies for doing felony crimes. Is this standard to just not charge them with a felony when that is the law that's on the book and that's been established for a reason?
We rely on diversion a lot in our office because we are very focused on public safety. And as I said, if you really care about public safety, you are trying to figure out how do we make the victim whole, which we can do here by making sure that they get restitution. How do you hold the person who did this accountable for keying the cars?
How do you determine what I believe makes me whole? The only thing that we can have standard across the board is whatever it is the law is and what's on the books.
We're doing that. He's going to go through programming. But how do you do that in a way that is less likely to make the person come back and commit a new crime? So we are very much focused on public safety. Now, if there are people, there are some people who want people to have felony convictions. That's fine if that's what they want, but that is not about public safety. Making sure you hold people accountable for their actions, which we're doing here, making the victims whole, they are going to get restitution, is a way to hold somebody accountable, make the victims whole, and lessen the likelihood that the person comes back into the system.
I can respect that point of view, I really can. But there are times where I think, like, here's this very sensible piece of action that you're taking around gun violence, right? I know that this week there was a person charged with felony property damage for keying a car. They had no criminal record. And my only question to you is, fairly, do you court this element of politics when you make a decision like this on policy as a criminal?
For most property offenders without a record, they go to diversion. But the question you raise is a really good one. I had a conversation with somebody who wanted to know why we made this decision. And I said, this is how we handle first-time low-level property cases. Should we have treated this gentleman differently because it's become a political issue? We seek, and I've said this over and over in my term, not to make decisions that are not about politics. So we made this decision because it is in the best interest of public safety. I think what's kind of heartbreaking for me, actually, as I stand up here today, I think about the families. Like I said, we've had like 5 or 6 children shot accidentally. I have met with parents, grandparents, dads of those children, and I talk to them and I listen to what they have to say. And it's tragic. And we're here to talk about gun violence and trying to prevent that. And so I think the puzzling thing about this is that is a low-level property crime. And so
Jesus Christ. So basically what they're telling y'all is that they're not going to uphold the law in the way that it was designed to be upheld, to divert people or to prevent future crimes from happening like this. And if we didn't have cameras to catch him, he would still be out there keying vehicles. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Also, Teach Henley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Peace.